Good morning. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and glad to have you with us this morning on a Monday, December the 8th. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Good morning to, and it's not Gina. Good morning to Scotty. How you doing, Scott?
I am having the greatest day of my life, thank you.
All righty. Well, I assume that we probably have somebody there for the pledge, and then also Michael Rogers waiting in the wings on the weather. So who's going to do the pledge for us this morning?
Got Al today.
All right, sir. Al, go ahead, please. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, these undocumented shoppers, my butt.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you, Al. I appreciate it.
Remember what yesterday was?
What's that?
Remember what yesterday was?
Any American worth his salt knew that was December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, and I hope it got the recognition it deserved.
I threw my flag with pride because I got an uncle still on the USS Arizona.
Absolutely. Al, we always appreciate your calling in. Thank you so much. Time for the weather, and the weather is brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, and of course they're located at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Right now, Christmas time, check out all the Christmas decorations, all the home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. Carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, everything with Kyle and Whitney Cheney. It is a great, great store. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Right now, here is Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hey, good morning. NFL update. Green Bay is going to go all the way. They'll win tonight. Aaron Rodgers playing his 100th game. They're going to play the whole thing in Green Bay. Seattle has to go to Green Bay to get the Super Bowl. Okay, we got that done. By the way, it's going to be 30 below. Now, for your weather, you can buy the stock for today. It's going to be nice. 55 for the high, 32 for the overnight low. It'll continue until tomorrow. Next time you're going to see rains on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's your NFL update. That's your weather. Enjoy it. Tell me whether you got it.
All right, there's my buddy Michael Rogers' weather, and I appreciate Cheney Flooring and Home Design bringing it to us at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Oh, my goodness. We got a lot of things to do here this morning, and we're going to get right to it. I want to remind you that this Thursday, we're going to be at Valleywide Home and Ranch for our entire program at 910 South Oneida in Rupert from 8 to 11, and it's going to be a remote Christmas broadcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. The first hour, we're going to have free cinnamon rolls for as long as they last. Yeah, you heard me right. Free Sophie's Chatterbox cinnamon rolls. Oh, they're good. Great store buys. Ken Mort's going to be there singing Christmas carols. This is an annual event at, of course, Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Also, real quick, we've got some public service announcements we've got to get in here in just a minute. Want to remind you about our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, and they've got gift cards. Now, these are great stocking stuffer ideas. I'm not kidding. And go on in and get a prepaid gift card from Daryl's Cleaners, and that is one of the cleanest gifts you can ever give. And that's going to be a neat deal for stocking stuffer at Christmas time. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also, want to say thank you very much to our friends at SafeLink Internet. They have a real good special going on right now. Listen to this. Say no to the winter blues with high-speed internet. Get the first month free plus free installation. Holy cow, all you got to do is call 677-8000. 677-8000 SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. And that's 17 years of serving you and counting. You get a hold of them today. SafeLink Internet Services, 677-8000. Really, really good people. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, in the opening of the program, we, in a jocular sense, said that they're not looters, they are undocumented shoppers. This thing's got completely out of hand. Completely out of hand. And I'm going to talk about this basically for the entirety of this hour. Protesters in New York and Ferguson, Missouri, and other locations now across the United States of burning, looting, stealing, causing all kinds of property damage. In Berkeley, California, I saw a video this morning of a man picking up, it looked like he was using a kind of a table or a piece of a table, and going along and shattering one after another huge windows in a business office. Why? Why? What is that going to do? This is the question of the morning. What is that going to do to change my mind against them? Why would I want to change my mind? That they're anything but punks and thugs doing this kind of audacity against society. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I had an interesting message this morning, if I'm not interrupting your agenda.
No, go ahead quickly, Keith.
Okay. This is a season when people are shipping a lot of things by UPS, FedEx, U.S. Postal Service, and that sort of thing. But did you know when you go down to mail it, or, you get a package, say, at UPS or the United Postal Service, they will ask you if you want insurance. And you can say yes, and you can pay the extra for the insurance. But say you're shipping documents, and they get lost, or they get shredded, or whatever, guess what you get paid?
What? What is it, Keith? Come on, hurry.
You get nothing.
All right, that's what I thought. Okay.
The weight of the paper.
Yeah.
The paper, maybe 15 or 20 cents.
Uh-huh.
That's all you get. One time we shipped a package, or an envelope, with the title in it and the contract and everything to a bank in Elko, Nevada.
Right.
And we insured it, and it did not get there. And guess what they were willing to give me?
Absolutely nothing for your effort.
Nothing. So why pay for the insurance if it's not going to?
Yeah, you'd be better off buying outside your back door a great big establishment of carrier pigeons, and I think it would get there quicker. I think it would get there safer. I think that you'd be a lot happier.
Well, the old horse, could come in handy at a time like that.
Yeah, I feel sorry for you because, we pay for all these goods and services, but really are we getting the benefit of what we're paying for? That's a good question. Keith, I'm going to stay on topic this morning with this deal about protesting in Ferguson and elsewhere, so thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you. God bless. I want to talk a little bit about this mess. I want to talk about the headline on the opinion page, the op-ed page yesterday in the Times News. We can't breathe. I was shocked when I picked up the Sunday edition of the Times News yesterday and saw the op-ed page, which basically is catering and mollycoddling to the people that are causing the problem and the disruptions and, quite frankly, breaking the law. Hold on, caller, I'll be right with you, I promise. But there's a paragraph in there that really upset me that the Times News had written in their op-ed page, and I want to read this quickly to you. Race sits at the core of this national tragedy. African Americans have been oppressed for generations. Drug laws specifically target black communities. The disproportionately high rate of black men crammed into U.S. prisons, often for nonviolent drug offenses, is a testament to that fact. Wait a minute! Are we going to give a free pass to those that are committing crimes against society? Are we going to say, oh, gee, we're sorry because of your skin color, we're not going to put you in jail, we're not going to try to have any kind of justice whatsoever? What is the matter with our society? We're looking at things on the count of a skin color as to whether we're going to pass judgment or give any kind of jail time? This is lunacy. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, my feeling on this
deal with where they're doing the race deal, where it's racially motivated, is divide. They're trying to divide this nation.
And they're doing a good job.
They are. They're trying to divide the nation. Now they're trying to turn us against the people that enforce the laws that protect us out there. They're trying to turn us against them. This way, when it gets bad enough, then they can come in and say, hey, we're taking over martial law. We're kicking all the police force out. We're putting these folks in, our cronies that we've been training, and you guys got to do what we say.
Doug, where is the point on this whole story with Ferguson and or with what happened in New York? Where is the point of what did the police do wrong? If the grand jury studied and went over 3 months of evidence in Ferguson, and they found out that this 6'4", 300-pound plus black punk was trying to get the officer's gun, do they have any other evidence that's going to supersede the evidence that was given? Why are they condemning the police forces? Why? Why are they turning them into a we don't need them, let's get rid of them attitude? Or they have to have more training. I am so sick and tired for all the good the police forces do and all the stories that we don't hear every day. One story comes first out of Ferguson that's going to denigrate the police, and then this other video story out of New York. And let's also say, Doug, the man broke the law, whether it's a minority law, whether it's a minuscule law, it doesn't make any difference. The man broke the law. How much pushing and shoving on the police do you take before you take the man down?
That's a fact. That's a fact. And Ann Coulter said it the best this weekend. You do not get between a liberal and their taxes. And that's all that deal was in New York, was they wanted their taxes. They've sent the police force out to collect those taxes on the people that are breaking the law and not paying their taxes, to take them down so they won't do it, so they can get their taxes on those cigarettes.
I'm telling you, I'm going to try to get the sheriffs in this area, whether it's Snar, whether it's Carter, whether it's McFall, whether it's Heward. I hope they show the backbone and the spine to come on this program and discuss this issue, because it affects them, it affects everybody across the United States.
It does, and it's their way of dividing us.
I agree. Doug, I got to do a commercial break. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Don't forget Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert. Oh, Sean and Mandy, the whole crew. As I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to be over there for the big Christmas remote on Thursday. It's going to be outstanding. All 3 hours right over there at Valley White Home and Ranch. And don't forget to enter the Naughty or Nice drawing at Valley White Home and Ranch. All you have to do is bring in an unwrapped small gift, put it in the box by the Christmas tree, and your name will be entered for a possible $100 gift card drawing at Valley White Home and Ranch. Wonderful people wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas. Stand by, caller. I'll be right there. Don't forget, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, Keith, the whole crew, wonderful people that have been with us for a long time. Cold weather is here, so treat your furnace right. Get some new air filters. Don't just buy one. Get a package of quality air filters so that when you need to change the air filters, your furnace is going to be happy and content and efficiently warming your home. Stop over to Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, it's all about the Lenski model. You know, you polarize, and then you demonize, and then you use deception. And all of those things come to play. But, you know, as far as this chokehold, you know, and the I can't breathe, there was a cop on one of the talk shows that I heard last week, and they said those thugs are taught. That's the first thing they say. I can't breathe, so that the police will let up on them, and then they can get an upper hand on the police to try to cause some damage.
Even the daughter.
Thing they're taught to do. And by the way, the guy didn't have any symptoms of, and you can't say. The other thing is that you cannot, if you can't breathe, you're not going to say, I can't breathe.
Yeah. Even the daughter has come out. Just a minute, Adrian, just a minute.
On and on.
Just a minute. The daughter even has come out of this black man that had died from asthma or heart condition or whatever due to, like he says, blaming on the police. A couple of people in...
Yeah, well, it's just all about divide and conquer. And, of course, eventually, like the previous caller said, they want to declare martial law because things... But, as long as these people and these departments and so forth are going to let this happen, it's going to continue. But until somebody puts their foot down and say, look, we're going to shoot any of these looters, not with rubber bullets. We're going to use some real live ammunition. And maybe that would slow them down a little bit.
I agree. Adrian, I thank you for your call. I'm running a little bit late, and I appreciate it. The point I was getting at a moment ago is the daughter has even come out and said that she does not think that it was racially motivated. Now, this is the daughter, but this whole thing reeks of how are the police going to do their job? Are you going to stand there? This is the question for you to answer this morning out there, audience. If you were a policeman or 3 or 4 policemen trying to apprehend someone for committing a crime, and they keep pushing you away and saying, no, I'm not going to go to jail, I'm not going to go with you, do we let them go, whether it's a minor offense or a major drug offense or maybe even a criminal offense of trying to kill someone, steal, whatever? Are we going to let them go because of their color? This is what's happening now in major cities. Police are drawing back because they're afraid of what might happen if they touch someone or they have an experience with someone, altercation with someone that is of color. They're afraid to death right now of the ramifications. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Louis Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they've got an army of professional agitators out there. I don't know whether these people are paid or not, but this kind of stuff is going to escalate to the point where when they end up with martial law, when they find the National Guard in every one of these cities out to stop what's going on.
I agree. I'm just really afraid that we are taking the hands of the police, and believe me, I do not believe in Gestapo tactics. Believe me, I don't want to see unnecessary police force. But then on the other hand, are the police going to be hampered or hamstrung in trying to do their job because of a race situation, Tony?
Well, Barack Obama and his army up there would like to take the power away from the police and install the federal army out there to run this country. They'll bypass the police department. That's where it's headed.
I hope and pray that it doesn't get in that direction, but quite frankly, I can't argue with you. Good to hear you and Mary this morning, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
God bless you, man. Barry Equipment and Rental. We had Nick on the phone with us the other day from Barry Equipment and Rental. They have the equipment to get any job done and done right. Stop in and see them today. 3 locations, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and their new location, man, they've got everything over there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Made some money this year and need some equipment? Well, I'll tell you what, they've got the equipment. Whether it's the Coyote, the Bobcat, or the Doosan loaders, whatever, it's all there. And they can tell you all about it at Barry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Thursday is going to be a big day, and we're looking forward to being over at Denny's restaurant for our Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Don't miss that. It's going to be great, and it's our Christmas and Thanksgiving combination lunch bunch this Thursday, and we're going to be starting at 11:45. Please, I'm going to be about 15 minutes late, so it's going to start about 11:45 at Denny's restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And boy, Thomas and Terry and the rest of the crew, great breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're going to have everything ready for us on Thursday for our combination Thanksgiving and Christmas party with Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's restaurant. By the way, they got a new one on Pole Line in Twin Falls. Don't forget, the very best at Denny's Restaurant. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to remind you real quick before I forget that we're going to take some more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Oh, have they got some great Christmas gift-giving ideas for the whole family. I'm telling you, with our Christmas sale prices plus additional factory instant rebates, you're going to be finding the best deals on HD TVs, sound bars, Blu-ray players, home theater systems, and much, much more. And they've extended their hours. They're open from 9 in the morning to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturdays. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Really nice people. Well, this whole thing is even enveloping a problem into the school system. I want to say this real quick. Schools, college professors, college classes, high schools are telling their students, and I'm not making this up, that if they, the students, are emotionally affected by these police happenings, oh, go ahead. You don't have to turn your paper in. You can do it whenever you feel that you're emotionally stable to go ahead and do it. What? This whole thing is just getting completely out of hand. Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City, he should be recalled for his attitude, his verbiage, and his actions against his own city police. He's doing tremendous damage to the police and basically putting a target on their back. I cannot understand why and how, and I want somebody to answer this for me, why the police need all the retraining, and how come over one or two instances all of a sudden they're in a condemnation mode when all the good that has happened. I think back, before I go to the Capitol Press Ag Minute, I want to say this. I think back a year ago at about this time to a homeless person laying on the streets of New York City with hardly any warm clothing and no shoes. Someone had stolen this man's shoes, and he was literally sitting on the side of the street in his stocking feet. And a policeman walked by, and you probably remember this story, asked him what had happened. He told him, and the policeman took about 30 minutes, walked to a store, bought the man some shoes, and came back and gave them to the homeless man. We never hear about the good. We never hear about all the stories, one after another, of all the police that they do for society. But now, we're putting a target on their back. Time for the Capitol Press Ag Minute. And the Capitol Press Ag Minute is brought to you by our friends at Pacific Steel and Recycling, and they're located at 320 West Main in Burley. All you have to do is bring in 2 cans or non-perishable food items and get $10 more per ton for scrap iron and 5-cent bonus on aluminum. Stop in. These are folks that are helping the community. Pacific Steel and Recycling. Scotty, if you would please, the Capitol Press Ag Minute.
The Capitol Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com.
Snowpack in the Boise River Basin was 126% of normal on December 2nd, and water delivery managers are cautiously upbeat about the 2015 water supply outlook for southwestern Idaho. There is still a long way to go before the start of the 2015 irrigation season, and conditions can change, but the water supply looks good for right now, says Tim Page, project manager for the Boise Project Board of Control. Snowpack in the basin was 76% of normal at this time last year. The Board of Control was able to carry about 146,000 acre-feet of water in Anderson Ranch Reservoir and 60,000 acre-feet downstream in Lake Lowell, which provides water for 47,000 acres of irrigated land. This is Hannah Browse.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
I know where Lake Lowell is, but I don't know where Lake Lowell is. Okay, thanks, Anna. Hey, don't forget Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Helping hands to the community. Pacific Steel and Recycling. Thank you very much. Do we have a call waiting, Scotty? I'm sorry, I got a little bit behind there.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, buddy. Hey, listen, by the way, I appreciate everything you're doing to fill in for us this morning. I know it's a bailiwick that perhaps you weren't anticipating, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Hey, Gary Shoresman, and we'll take some more calls. Gary Shoresman, what an outstanding author. I mean, this man has got so much talent. Fantastic books for the history buff, keepsakes for generations to come. You know, his books are available at the bookstore on the square and also the Minidoka County Museum, and all of his books would make excellent Christmas presents to teenagers and young marrieds to really understand and appreciate the history of the area. Thank you, Gary Shoresman, for your great diligence in your history books. Keepsakes for generations, available at the bookstore on the square and Minidoka County Museum. Excellent. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just really urge people to speak up about this. Racism is an absolutely filthy, filthy thing. But the way the race card is being played in these certain instances, the grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri sat down for 3 months. People basically dedicated their lives on the grand jury to going through all the evidence, seeking out the truth. And they ascertained that the policeman acted within every aspect of the law to save his life. He was under attack. But most of the people now that are willing to deride the facts, like the Al Sharptons and many, many others, that are race baiters and haters, are trying to turn this into a circus. And then also the story in New York. And it's turning public safety. It's turning the relationship with our police into an extremely fragmented and tumultuous situation. Caller, I'm going to be right there. Stand by, please. I want to remind you at Scou's CarQuest Centers, our good buddy Jeff and the rest of the crew, customer satisfaction is always the goal. They care and work very hard to provide excellent service that you've grown to expect since 1949. Every detail matters at Scou's CarQuest stores, where you can find all your automotive replacement products, accessories, and supplies for virtually all vehicles. Scou's CarQuest Centers, like I said, every detail matters, and they're located at 518 Overland in Burley, 323 East 8th and Highway 25 in Rupert, and exit 211 I-84. Scou's CarQuest and excellence. What a team. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
They're wanting to retrain these policemen. Who, and I emphasize who, is going to do the training, and what are they going to train?
Dal, I need you to speak up. Your voice is real soft. I can hardly hear you, so go ahead and say that again louder, please.
I say they're claiming that the police need to be retrained. I want to know who is going to retrain them, and what are they going to train them?
Well, see, now that's the gist of it. You've hit the nail right on the head. Who is going to retrain them, and how? How are they going to differentiate? Oh, wait a minute. This is 3 black guys standing on the corner. Now, we've got to handle them different than we would 3 Asian men or possibly 3 white guys. And I'm not exaggerating. I talked to about 4 or 5 police officers this weekend, and they really are afraid that's what it's coming down to, is a color code justice system.
Yeah, I don't think they need it, personally.
Well, I agree with you, Dal, and I appreciate your call. God bless you, man. You and your wife mean a lot to us. Thank you so much. All right, sir. Don't forget Valleywide Christmas. It's going to be dandy at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh, this Thursday we're going to be over at the Valleywide Christmas Remote, 8 to 11. Free cinnamon rolls for as long as they last. Great store buys. And Ken Mort's going to be there playing his guitar and singing all kinds of Christmas carols. Clothing and Western boots on sale. Buy 2, get 1 free. Holy smokes, all of this and more at Valleywide Home and Ranch for their great big Christmas coming up on Thursday. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Dal just touched on the whole thing. The liberals are saying more retraining of police. The Times News, in their op-ed front page, said, we can't breathe. And then they said, change is clearly needed. But that can only happen after a frank discussion involving law enforcement, civilian, and politicians about race and use of force. There again, the police are going to be handcuffed as to what to do, how to do it, and how to discern who gets what training or treatment. I'm very afraid for our police forces. I really am. Your neighbors, our neighbors, they're going to be put on a pedestal of they can never make any mistakes. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Merry Christmas wishes from Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Keith and the entire crew over there at Ramsey's, 57 years of warm winters and cool summers for all your heating and electrical needs. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Merry Christmas. Also from Pickett Equipment Company, 976 East Main in Burley. Steve would like to thank all the farmers for a great year, and they've got all the best in bean equipment. Don't forget that. Deanne, could you please take this call for me real quick? All right, and don't forget Steve Pickett and the rest of the crew with the one-step rod cutter, and of course the Master Plus side pull combine, everything and more for you. And Pickett Equipment Company says Merry Christmas. And Barry Equipment and Rental, we talked about them just a few moments ago on Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All the equipment you need and the nicest of people at Barry Equipment and Rental, wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
They're switching focus because they're not asking what was the person doing before the policeman had to interact with him. They're looking only at what the policeman did and demonizing them. And there is no excuse for human beings to act like animals.
Linda,
looting and rioting.
Linda, let me ask you a question here. You've probably listened to the news reports, and they've gone and in Berkeley, California, destroyed a beautiful office building with these great big pane-type windows for no reason whatsoever. What good is it going to do to loot, burn, and destroy, and then try to get sympathy for your particular race or your particular political viewpoint?
None.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely none. I have a great deal of appreciation for our local police. I was in an auto accident Saturday night.
Oh,
I was taken to the hospital and treated and released. But my son and my daughter-in-law were looking at the spot trying to find my hearing aid for one thing. And a policeman came along, and he stopped and asked if he could help, and he interpreted for them what he saw of that accident. Mm-hmm. I'm very glad I'm still here. But, he was very kind and very helpful, and I am very grateful to the police and the EMTs and first responders who stopped to help.
Absolutely.
We need to truly appreciate these people. Many times they put their lives on the line for us.
Absolutely. And by the way, may I say to you, I am so sorry that you had that occurrence, but God's blessings to you. I hope you feel better. I hope everything goes well. You are a very valuable part of our program, and the very best to you, Linda. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you, Zeb. I appreciate the prayers. I hope I will be there Thursday.
I do, too, because it wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks, Linda.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Good work.
Thank you. That lady has such a beautiful voice. God has gifted her with a singing voice that is just absolutely phenomenal, and I certainly hope she's doing better. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts about this message? Are you going to gain any popularity? Are you going to gain anything politically by going out and looting and burning and crying foul? Personally, I don't see what our police have been doing that is so wrong. I don't see, because of the evidence presented, what the Officer Wilson did wrong in Ferguson, Missouri. And I'm going to be really honest with you, that if it were a white guy or an Asian gentleman or a black in New York City, under the occurrence of the police had asked him please to go along with them, he kept pushing their hands away. You can see it on the video. He was not going to go with them. He was not going to honor their requests. Where do you draw the line? Do the police all of a sudden, because of racial discord, do they sit there and they say to themselves, huddle up, guys, wait a minute, this black man does not want to go to jail. He does not want to be arrested, so we'll leave him alone? Please. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to remind you also about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2, right behind Dr. Crane's office in Burley. Absolutely the best for you. I've been going over there with my leg, and I'm going to be starting up again with more exercises, more therapy in the hydro pool. Absolutely a very knowledgeable and highly trained staff, very friendly staff serving you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You call them and make an appointment, 678-1191. 678-1191. Nick Greenwell and his staff at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley, serving you. Really a great, great bunch of folks. Hey, don't forget, too, Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Oh, my goodness. What wonderful meals they have over there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then don't forget the bakery with all the wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. We're going to have those over at Valleywide this week. Oh, you're going to love it. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Number to call, 436-0354. Really nice folks. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. It just seems like liberalism in this country, and liberalism even right here in the Magic Valley, is jumping out from behind the bush and trying to take everything over. I urge you to read that op-ed page in the Times News yesterday. And if you disagree with me and my thoughts as to what it was written, and here's something else they said in the op-ed yesterday. I'm quoting, "We appreciate the police and in general trust the motives of those in the justice system. But as in so much of the country, that confidence has been shaken." My question at that paragraph is, wait a minute, does the Times News have some evidence, more so than the grand jury in Ferguson, that would indict Officer Wilson? Does the Times News know so much more about what happened between the black punk that had just robbed a convenience store, walking down the middle of the street, and the policeman had the confrontation with this black young man, telling him to get off the street, and then a violent confrontation ensued? Does the Times News know more about what happened than the grand jury and the police forces? No. No. Caller, please, I'm going to ask your patience. I have to get a weather forecast in real quick, and I'm going to ask you to stay on the line. I promise I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert is our weather sponsor, bringing you Michael Rogers weather for this hour. Nicole does a wonderful job with those custom-made wooden Christmas ornaments and business cards made out of wood. I've got some. They're fantastic. And all the engraving on the sweatshirts and the T-shirts and the caps. She can do it all at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Well, it's supposed to be there. Let me chase it down real quick.
I'll tell you what you do. Can you just give me the verbiage on the weather? What do you think it's going to be, Scotty? I'll let you do it just this hour.
All right. We'll be looking for highs around 50 today, continuing on throughout the week. Thursday, maybe a chance of showers, and then a little bit cooler toward the weekend. That's your weather. Enjoy the weather you got, because it's the only weather you got, and I know I messed that up.
And he's filling in for Michael Rogers because of that temperamental computer system over there. But by golly, we appreciate it. Thank you much. And, of course, the weather brought to you this hour by Mad River Laser. Nicole and the crew at 502 E Street in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, young kid Zeb.
Hello, Jerry.
What would happen if our police department just started letting criminals have their way? You know, I don't want to be arrested. So we say, okay, well, you go on. We'll get you another time, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. What do you think the people would say if they started doing that kind of crap?
Yeah, but Jerry, you bring up the best point that I've been trying to put out all morning long, is are we going to have different laws applied to different members of the community and society because of their color? And that's basically what it's boiling down to.
Well, you got crazy people like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and I'll say our president. I'll tie him right in with the crazy people that would like to have that because it would be to their advantage. But, you know, if we can turn the law to our advantage, we'd all be crooks. There wouldn't be an honest person in the world.
Well, I hope that you are wrong. I really hope and pray that you're wrong. But what this boils down to is, let me ask you something, Jerry, and give me short answers on this. Did you see the video of the gentleman being taken down by the police in New York City?
Several times.
All right. Now, you saw on the film the police had stood there. They tried to work with him. They were trying to talk to him. They were trying to make an arrest without any confrontation whatsoever. But, Jerry, how far do you go as a policeman or a police force before you've got a thug that says, no, I'm not going to be arrested. No, I'm not going to go anywhere with you. No, I'm not going to do anything. How far do you go and wait before finally you have to use force?
Well, you're going to have to use the minimum amount of force to take him down and take care of him.
That's right. And
in this case, they used the minimum amount. You knew he was being choked, but he wasn't being choked enough he couldn't talk. I just think this whole thing is insane.
I am not.
We put grand juries there to enforce our laws and, to interpret them.
Right.
And we don't listen to them. Why ever listen to these nuts we got in the Supreme Court?
Jerry, I appreciate your call, and I'm going to talk more about it here in just a few minutes. Thank you very much, and God's blessings to you, and, of course, to you and yours, a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Thank you. Call, I'll be right with you, but, Jerry brings up a really good point, too, about the police and the chokehold. Well, first of all, I'm not thoroughly convinced it was a quote-unquote chokehold. And if you're going to wrestle with somebody that is almost twice your size, he was like two police officers in size. And they had stood there for minutes after minute after minute trying to negotiate with this man to come down. He was under arrest. When do you start using excessive force? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zed.
Yes, go ahead, please, quickly.
Okay, hey, which page of the Times News is that op-ed piece you were talking about?
It's the front page of the opinion editorial.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to take a look at that.
All right, sir. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's hard for me to understand that when our police are put in situations of where there is a law broken, whether it is a law they agree with or not, they're part of our society, in a civilized society, to take the bad guys off the street or to arrest people that have broken the laws. They're not to discern the laws, good, bad, or indifferent. They are to enforce the laws. And how much of this ticky-tack approach do you go for before sooner or later you have to say, sir, this is it. We're not going to harangue with you anymore. We are going to go to jail and you are under arrest. And they take him down. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I want to push out, people, is guess what? If you're not committing a crime, you don't have anything to worry about. If you just do what you're supposed to do and that, we wouldn't have these problems. The only ones that are whining are the ones that are being caught, period.
Jeff, wait a minute, though. I want you to address this issue of whether or not we're going to see a color-coded definition of the law. Do you agree with me or not that this could open up different venues of how various people and ethnicities and races are handled by the police forces?
Well, that's it exactly. That's exactly what could happen. I mean, they sit there and whine, oh, they're picking on the blacks, oh, they're picking on the Hispanics, oh, they're picking on the Asians, oh, they're picking on the whites. No. Police your own people. If you're not doing anything wrong in that, you wouldn't have this problem. But guess what? You're in an area where, say, you're 70% white and you got white people that are causing the problem, guess what? You're going to have a problem. But if you're black in that, and you're in an area where it's almost majority black and that, guess what? You got a problem. They're going to pick you out.
Yeah, and realize, too, Jeff, that the arresting officers in the case in New York, I'm going to stand up and say that I saw on the video at least 3 of the police that were there, and I think there was about 6 or 7 there in entirety. 3 of them were of the African-American blacks. And so to say that this was a racial thing and that the cops were being racist, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, if you're caught, you're caught.
That's right.
Period. Don't put up an argument or anything like that. You just, okay, I'm caught. Yes, I was doing something wrong. Let's work this out. Something like that. There wouldn't have been near this problem. But he sat there and argued with them and everything else, and he was doing something wrong. Period.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jeff, and I appreciate your call. Kilt, man, God bless you, man. We appreciate it. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Stand by. I've got to get this in. Snyder's Surplus. Oh, my goodness. They've got everything over at Snyder's Surplus, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, they've got an inventory of everything over there from, of course, all the warm things you need, like wool socks and wool blankets and furniture and guns and shoes. They've got everything over at Snyder's Surplus. Brand new building. Brand spanking new. Brand new merchandise and the same great friendly service. These people really care. They are really nice folks. Leland, Tammy, the whole crew. Snyder's Surplus, 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Just barely can hear you.
Well, dude, you're coming across, I think, Scotty, if you can turn me up in his headset just a little bit, I'd appreciate it. Sorry, go ahead, Al.
Remember back when everything was pretty good, as long as Martin Luther King was alive. After he was assassinated, and I still think to this day he was assassinated by the people that he was under him, which you come out of with Farrakhan, Jackson, Sharpton, and all them other radical knuckleheads.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's been getting worse and worse and worse. And I says, my Lord, help us because nobody else is going to.
I agree. Hey, were you talking about you could barely hear me over the air or during the phone call?
What?
You said you couldn't hear me. Was it on the radio or over the phone?
Over the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the main thing.
You're not talking loud enough?
Well, you're doing just right. You're doing just right, and I agree with everything you said. Al, always appreciate your call. Thank you.
Have a good
All right, sir. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and service is the key word. Are you ready for wintertime driving? If you're not, one of these days, all of a sudden, the 50s and 60s are going to leave us, and we're going to end up with some cold driving conditions with muck and ice and snow and everything. Well, you'd better be ready with the traction tires that'll get you through, of course, all the winter driving tires, pin for studs, and of course, all the tire chains. Everything is right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Everything is there. I mean, they've got the very best in brake service. They've got the very best in front-end alignments and shocks and struts. They've got the very best in batteries, and of course, the very best in all the tires you need. but the very best also in service. They really take care of you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Real quick call. Good morning. I've only got a minute. Real fast.
Good morning. I'll only take a second because I want to know why you think it is not effective to shake your finger at them. Don't you do that again.
Helen, you're making something up that I never said, so don't say that. I've never said shake your finger at them.
Well, what else can they do?
Well, it's about to that stage, and I'm really afraid for the security and safety of our streets through our police officers being intimidated about what they can and can't do.
I am too. It scares me shitless. Well, you have a good day.
All right, Helen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good day yourself. We're going to take a little break for about 6 minutes, turn it back over to Scotty and the crew over at the main studios, and we'll be back with Frosty Woldridge at 9:06. Don't go away, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back.
American girls and American guys, we'll always stand up and salute. We'll always recognize.
That's, of course, Toby Keith, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 2 this morning, and welcome to our program. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have Frosty Woldridge from Golden, Colorado on the air. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and, of course, all 7 locations, including also some of our great advertisers. And they are Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services. Scotty, if you would, please.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, and that's the truth. Kelly and the crew taking care of you, whether it's on the route service to get rid of your garbage, or whether it's even having the dumpsters dropped off to your place to fill up, cleaning out your garage, basement, whatever. They really can help. And go to their website, gowesternwaste.com, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. You call them today, 734-6969. Western Waste at your disposal. Let's see, before we go any further, I also want to remind you about some really, really good friends of ours that have helped us with some of the gift certificates and gifts at our lunch bunch, and that's, of course, Hanson Mortuary. Joel Heward and his staff, very professional folks at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Thank you so much for what you do, and their family serving your family. And when there's a death in the family, and you just absolutely are thrown into turmoil, don't know what to do, how to get everything all organized, let Hanson Mortuary serve you, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. They're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. Joel Heward and Hanson Mortuary. Don't forget, we're going to be over at Valleywide Home and Ranch this Thursday for the Christmas Remote. It's an annual affair at 910 South Oneida in Rupert from 8 to 11, and we're going to have the first hour, or as long as they last, free cinnamon rolls and great store buys, including on the clothing, and the Western boots will be on sale. Buy 2, get 1 free. Holy cow, all of this and much, much more at the Great Big Christmas Remote at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and my dear, dear friend back in Golden, Colorado on a Monday. Good morning, Frosty Woldridge. How are you?
And good morning, Zeb, and wishing all of you and your families a very Merry Christmas, and
I hope everyone's enjoying the festivities leading up to that sacred day. So thank you so much, Zeb. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Hey, by the way, let's start things off a little differently this morning, Frosty, if we could. This mess, and that's what I think it is now across the United States, that's being imposed on our police departments by some of the liberal left, whether it's New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, whether it's the news media, whatever. Are we, in your opinion, going to have to start treating criminals and thugs and punks with a color-coded type law enforcement? It looks like the police are going to have one hand tied behind them over the situations that came out of Ferguson and also New York City. I'd like your opinion on that.
There's no question that now law enforcement is going to become stringently politically correct. I'm going to very quickly recommend that everyone listening go to my Facebook page, Frosty Wooldridge, right there on Facebook, and there is a 5-minute speech by Bill O'Reilly on America's race problem. This is the very best explanation of the African American crime, pregnancies, illiteracy, and poverty. And it's getting huge responses. So please go to Frosty Wooldridge on my Facebook page. Just scroll down till you see the O'Reilly on race problem, and just click it, and it will give you a 5-minute video. This is the best explanation of what's happening to African Americans, and he just nails it. And he said it, and of course I wrote it, and I write the same as Bill O'Reilly, but I've never seen such an outstanding understanding of what's happening. And as to the fact that the Gentle Giant was actually a thug, and he was many cases of robbery, had a rap sheet, and so forth, and that 6 African-American witnesses, I think it was 4 women and 2 men, testified at the grand jury telling them that Gentle Giant, 6'4", 300-pound guy who had a rap sheet and was a thug and had just robbed a store, was definitely charging and actually jumped into the car of Darren Wilson, the police cruiser, and tried to gain his gun. I'll tell you what, if I had a 300-pound monster coming down on me, I'd react the same way. And the question, of course, is, why didn't these individuals simply, when the police officer said, you're under arrest, put your hands up, I'm going to cuff you, etc., whenever a police officer gets a hold of me on a police for speeding or whatever, which has only happened once in the last 25 years, I guarantee you this, I don't argue with them. I say yes, I say no. Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. But I don't go around charging them or trying to confront them. And so that's exactly what happened with Garner, and certainly with the Gentle Giant, 6'4". And so, yeah, from now on, we've got PC coming down, but at some point, Ferguson will become the next Detroit, and any city that literally allows itself to turn into a complete anarchy will suffer the same consequences as Detroit. And I think Ferguson is well on its way.
Frosty, we have both read just about everything there is to read about what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and what the events were leading up to the shooting of Michael Brown. And the grand jury, it took 3 months, and they took their own personal time in their lives, and they devoted all the study to come out with the final report, and also the non-indictment of Officer Wilson. Why is it that the news media, why is it that the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and the Barack Obamas and the Eric Holders, why is it that the news media with their so-called editorial staffs, they think that there's something under the surface that they keep digging, they keep stirring it up and saying that the grand jury was trying to falsely lead everybody in this country with a non-indictment? They are stirring the pot of another race war in this country.
Well, that's correct. Barack Obama telling all of these looters and these rioters to stay the course. That is not what a rational president does. And so what you have is the race baiting, and now race baiting of the President of the United States, certainly of Eric Holder, and you also have the race baiting of Al Sharpton. I'm amazed we don't hear more from Jesse Jackson. And you know, what's really amazing is none of those individuals ever talk about black-on-black crime, which is 1,000 to 1 in this country. And the fact that and as Bill O'Reilly said in his 5-minute speech on the O'Reilly factor, 73% of African American children are brought up by a single mother. In other words, they were birthed out of wedlock. We're seeing a complete corruption of the African American family since the Great Society started giving handouts in 1965. And we're now seeing the fruition of that. No personal accountability and no personal responsibility. And the fact is that the gentle giant would absolutely find himself in jail on murder charges or theft, or at some point he would have gotten more violent, and either he killed somebody or he was going to get killed. But his situation was locked in stone because of his upbringing, and it's amazing. His two parents really didn't bring him up. His two parents actually were, it was the grandmother who brought the kid up. The two parents are totally irresponsible, and that's what you're seeing happening. And it's just incredible. That's happening all over the country. It's 73% of African-American children.
I want to ask you about the video of the gentleman in New York that was confronted by the police. I'm sure you've seen it on multiple occasions. And everybody is crying foul, and they're crying police brutality, and they're crying excessive force, and they're crying about the so-called quote-unquote chokehold, etc. But, Frosty, how much do the police have to take when confronting someone that has broken the law, and they talked to him and they tried to coerce with him that he should come peaceably, and the police that were there finally had enough? I mean, there's got to be a breaking point to where you're, as a policeman, not going to be pushed away any longer, and you have to take the criminal down.
Well, once again, whether it's the Michael Brown, Darren Wilson situation, or certainly the Garner situation, there's no question. It's how big or how small is the crime, and how much can you get away with whatever crime you want to get away with?
Yeah.
When you... Pardon?
I said, yeah, because I'm agreeing with you, because, really, how are the police going to discern whether it's a big crime, a little crime, if there's someone that they have to arrest? How much do the police have to take before there's a breaking point?
Well, that's going to be, again, we're seeing, and we have seen, the breakdown of the rule of law in this country, and now to the point where the President of the United States has taken it in his own hands to subvert the Constitution, and that's the Constitution of we the people. And he gave amnesty to almost 1 million kids who are here illegally, and that allows their parents to continue to be here illegally. And now he's giving another amnesty. In other words, breaking the rule of law by a one-person choice, which is in itself against the law. And so you're seeing, again, we're not upholding the law. We've got 20 million illegal aliens in this country. We have not upheld the law. We haven't upheld the law against them jumping into our food service, food stamp programs, the medical programs in this country. All of it is in violation of our laws, and yet we don't have presidents, and this is not the first one. Bush did not. Certainly, the first Bush didn't, and Clinton didn't, and that's why we have this massive lawless society right now with all of these people that are hiring illegal aliens and the illegal aliens themselves, and now you have the kind of crime that's going on. You have no responsibility and no personal accountability. And so we may see, again, much more of this race riot phenomenon, and then at some point, black ghettos. And Charles Barkley said last week, hey, folks, you better appreciate the police coming into your neighborhood, because in these poverty-stricken and black ghettos, if it wasn't for the police, nobody could be safe for their lives or their possessions whatsoever, because there's so much crime going on, robberies and rapes and so forth. So even Charles Barkley, whom I consider not too bright, really stated it like it is. So how far do we want to go down this path? So far, it looks like we're going to go quite a ways.
And you bring up some really good points, Frosty, but the police in general right now, I think, have been thrown under the bus with New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio basically saying that not for decades, but for centuries, certain minority groups have been mistreated, and he said that his own children fear the police. Here's a man that is being guarded 24/7 by the New York's best, the police department, and de Blasio comes out and basically issues a target on the police back, saying they're not doing the job. I mean, this man did more harm to the police than anybody in the United States of America.
Well, let me really bring a very sobering reality check to African Americans and Hispanic Americans and certainly European Americans right now in this country. If not for the police, if not for the rule of law, if not for the Darren Wilsons and anyone who is serving the Constitution of the United States and the rule of law, we would degrade down to a Somalia.
Amen.
We would degrade down to a Congo.
Yep.
We would degrade down to a Syria. Certainly we would degrade down to a Sudan. So every white, black, and brown person and then every other color in this country better be darn thankful for the police, because this country would literally degrade down to what you see happening in those other countries in the Middle East and in Africa, and that's not what I want to live with or under. So we better cheer the police in doing their jobs and keeping our country safe and sane and run by the rule of law.
Frosty, I want to ask you this morning, we've had about a month to really take a look at, since the elections, what the Republicans are doing and or saying, or both. Some of the verbiage and some of the intent. Are you satisfied so far as to what they're trying to do, or are you like me? I'm withholding judgment, because so far, after a month, I haven't seen anything that leads me to think they're going to try to fight the president, try to stand up to the president, and try to stop him with his immigration reform. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, everyone listening, every American that cares about the future of this country, I now have the second of a three-part series at newswithviews.com, and that second part of this thing talks about the Muslim aberrant connection now coming into this country, and the third part, which will come out tomorrow on newswithviews.com and many other the websites like Freedom's Phoenix. You really have to understand that we're about to import 100 million more people. We've got 7 million Muslims now. They're destroying Europe. That's just part of how they operate. They can't help themselves. And so we're really facing a multicultural, chaos country here if this continues, and I spell it out in this three-part series. And so what we're facing, again, I ask each one of you, capsweb.org and numbersusa.org and, of course, FAIR, FAIRUS.org. If we don't collectively empower ourselves, then you're right, Zeb. The Congress is not going to do anything, and then they will simply fund the amnesty. And folks, we're going to pay. The Heritage Foundation said if we fund a new amnesty, it's going to cost somewhere in the vicinity of $6 trillion. T is in Tom, $6 trillion. We're already $18 trillion in debt. Ladies and gentlemen, every listener, every American who cares about what your children are going to face, it's going to break the system. At some point, we're going to break down. We can't continue on this thing, Zeb, and everything is going to turn into literally a meltdown. And once the financial aspect of America melts down, then you're going to see people that don't, the 48 million that are living on food stamps, in other words, on our backs as American workers. You're going to see chaos in the streets that there's no way to control it. If you think if you think, Ferguson was a mess, or you think what's happening in New York City, all the marches, you can't imagine what's going to happen when people don't get enough food from their food stamps allocations. Then you're going to see some real nightmares happening across this country. So please, whatever you do, get involved and make sure you make your voice heard. You should be calling up your 2 senators and your House reps and making sure they know exactly what you want, because otherwise they just go on and continue on this path. And the path is to let this amnesty just slide, and then, of course, our country continues into the abyss of the loss of the rule of law.
Frosty, now bear with me on this. I'd like your opinion, but I'm not trying to preach or teach about a conspiracy theory. But where we are today on very shaky ground in our cities with the riots and the thuggery and the looting and the burning, and where we are with immigration and everything, it wouldn't take much for this administration to declare martial law and take over a complete imposition of power. Do you agree or disagree?
I used to think that couldn't happen, but I don't put anything past Barack Obama. First of all, he is a Marxist, communist. He was brought up by Marxist, communist Muslims over there in Africa. His father was such. And when you have that kind of influence, again, Muslims are allowed to lie as much as possible to further the Islamic cause for world domination. When you understand that, then you understand that we have a president who can lie because he is a Muslim. He's admitted being a Muslim on tape now. We have video recordings of him literally admitting to his Muslim faith. And so when you have that kind of a man in the White House, he's lied his way into the White House. He's lying his way to whatever he's doing right now. He has a total of, I just got the names of them, 9 Muslim Islamic aides now work in the White House.
That's right.
Barack Obama information and their push every year to expand Islam in America. I don't put anything past him. So we are at a critical point in this country, and we've still got 2 years of this Barack Obama at the levers of power. And I hope, please God, I'm praying that the Republican House and the Senate neutralize this guy, or we're going to have our Constitution completely pulled out from underneath us, Seb.
One final thought, Frosty. Do you believe that with the people like in Colorado, your senators and congressmen, and do you believe, after listening to them and voting for you, the person of your choice, that they really possess the knowledge and the ability to understand what's going on, or do you think they're fairly naive themselves?
Pretty much naive. Certainly, Michael Bennett is lost in space. He's one senator, the Democratic senator. He doesn't even know what's going on. I've gone down to the office there and given point-blank reality checks, and they just turn right around and jump the legal immigration to 2 million per year instead of the current 1.2 million. And so the tragedy is, I think the Congress of the United States, now being so politically correct, I mean, guys like Chris Rock can insult all of us with his racist rantings. Chris Rock is just a complete social moron, and yet because he's funny, or he thinks he's funny, he gets to make outlandish comments that none of us would ever be able to make. And then you get guys like that godforsaken moron, Al Sharpton, and then you've got that complete womanizing, sickening Jesse Jackson. These people are not examples of upstanding individuals leading this country toward a better future. They're the ones that are trying to break down any kind of cohesion we have. And so that's the tragedy we're facing right now. And if we continue to think that Washington is going to solve our problems, that's not going to happen. They're actually putting more gasoline on the fire when you keep adding more immigration, more multiculturalism, more languages. And again, all these different worldviews that I talk about, nothing and none of these immigrants coming into this country has any concept or idea of what the American way of life is or our ethos as a country. And so we're going to see more and more of the fracturing and the fragmenting of our country. To tell you the truth, it terrifies me. And I, at this point, don't have any confidence in Washington, D.C., certainly not in the Congress, either the Republican House and or the Senate. Hopefully they stand up, but I'm not sure they're going to.
All right. Listen, again, I'm so indebted to you for coming on our program every Monday. Thank you so much. Frosty Woolridge, Golden, Colorado. And on a lighter note, as we leave this morning, something to ponder. We might be seeing the Broncos and the Packers in the Super Bowl. It is looming on the horizon.
You know, it's pretty exciting because
yes, it is.
I watched the game yesterday, and of course, Aaron Rodgers is doing a heck of a job, and the Packers are making big progress, and they're making a statement. So anything's possible. I'll tell you what, we will have a fun day when the Packers and the Broncos are in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a celebration. I'm going to come after you, boy.
I'll tell you what, and if it happens, I'm going to fly back to Golden, Colorado, and watch you cut that tofu turkey with that knife.
Sounds great. I look forward to it, Zeb.
See you later.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Frosty. Merry Christmas to you. My dear friend, Frosty Woolridge in Golden, Colorado. Very, very dear friend. Talking about dear friends, don't forget Colonel Dale at Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. The Book Plaza has all your Christmas gift-giving ideas. They've got three floors of books and jewelry and items. Oh, my goodness, and they've got a brand-new children's book department that Colonel Dale just created, and they've expanded the music department. Oh, you'd better get in there today. You're going to love it. Whipple's Book Plaza with Colonel Dale Whipple and the staff, 222 West 11th Street in Burley, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Also, Christmas wishes go out this morning from Western Waste Services, Twin Falls and Jerome, and they just say to everybody in the audience, thank you very much for a great year. They appreciate your business, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Along with our friends at Dot Foods, 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. And, you know, they have a need for full-time drivers. Great pay, great benefits, and you ought to call them today, 678-6063, or go to their website, www.drivefordot.com. Dot Foods wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas. As is the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Street in Hayburn, 679-4793. Oh, located on the beautiful Snake River. Kay and the rest of the crew, they've got a wonderful gift shop over there at the Visitor Center. They are such nice people. Wishing you and yours Merry Christmas. We're going to have our guest on the phone in just a moment. Stand by. But before we do, I also want to remind everybody about Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. My goodness sakes. They've got all kinds of great Christmas gift-giving ideas, clothing and accessories for motorcycles and ATVs and snowmobiles. And speaking of snowmobiles, you better get in there and check out the brand new 2015 Yamaha snow machines. Woo, boy, those are dandies. And like I said, all the accessories that you'll need next year for your ATVs. This is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. Real quick, too, excuse me, a little frog in my throat this morning. I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 between Rupert. Really nice people, Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, serving you with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are accessible and very devoted to serving you. Please call them for an appointment today, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The best. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we're very fortunate to have one of Alliance Defending Freedom's great folks, and that, of course, is Casey Maddox. And Casey's been on our program many times in the past. Good morning, Casey. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. Thanks for having me on.
You know, Casey, it seems like this is a never-ending story about government getting involved in private business and forcing pro-life employers to pay for abortions. I'm going to stop right there and let you tell us more about what's going on, this very heinous story.
It certainly never stops, Zeb, and you're right about that. What we have here, though, is taking it to a level that I don't know if we've ever been at before, and it's really troubling, both in the District of Columbia and in California. In the District of Columbia, the effort here is a bill that's pending in the City Council that needs only one more vote to pass, and that bill would make it illegal for an employer to deny to take any employment action against an employee because of that person having an abortion. But beyond that, it even requires employers to pay for elective abortions for their employees in the District of Columbia. We just this past week, the City Council stepped back a moment from that bill, and we hope it's going to die now. It's blatantly illegal, and I anticipate that if they actually go through with that bill, it's going to be essentially just handing money to groups like Alliance Defending Freedom that would litigate against it. And so we've been encouraging them to keep their money, not to raid taxpayers' wallets, and not to violate conscience. But in California, the deed is already done. In California, you have churches there, and I believe I've been on to talk about this before. You have churches in California that are being forced to pay for pastoral staff to pay for abortion coverage in their insurance plans. It's an egregious violation of conscience, and fortunately, members of Congress are taking note now.
Where do you think that all the information that was given to the Supreme Court was of information that was complete, or they would have never voted in favor of the indoctrination and implementation of Obamacare? Were they given just basically a skeleton's information viewpoint, and that's why we still have all this mess happening today?
You know, it's really the problem of litigation. When you're litigating these cases, the courts are limited to the issue that's right in front of them. That's why these things are much better to have legislatures making determinations like this, people's elected representatives making decisions, and not courts making these broad decisions about abortion rights and all these sorts of other issues that should not be in front of a court. These ought to be legislative questions, and we shouldn't be making a national, making the court into the abortion police of the country. But unfortunately, after Roe, that's what's happened. But certainly, you know, even at this last argument in the Hobby Lobby cases, you had Justice Kennedy asking the question, well, wouldn't the government's argument mean that employers could be forcing people to pay for elective abortions? And the answer from the government was, well, there's no law like that. And less than 5 months later, California created a law like that and forced even churches to pay for elective abortions.
Casey, this is kind of maybe a naive-sounding question from me, because we've talked about this issue many, many times on my program, but I'm still sitting back scratching my head wondering why this administration, above all other administrations, is so bent on supporting abortions. Can you answer that?
You know, there is a strong abortion lobby that spends a lot of money to get politicians elected. And like any other lobby, when they get those people elected, they want them to do what they want done. And Planned Parenthood and the abortion lobby are spending tens of millions of dollars every election cycle to push for their candidates to be elected, and they expect a payback when those people are elected. And I think what we see is politicians that are placing abortion at the forefront of the political agenda, and it is really troubling. But I think you don't have to think about it in any way other than the way you would with any other issue. You have lobbyists from Capitol Hill that are pushing an issue and that want to see it happen, and they have politicians that are elected, and they do what they're asking them to do.
Where do you stand on this as far as Alliance Defending Freedom and the winning and or losing of this? I mean, you folks have jumped into many, many cases all across the United States, and I say God's blessings to you for doing that. And your track record is exceptional as far as victories are concerned. What do you think is going to happen overall on this type of a case?
I appreciate that, Zeb. We have been diving into to these issues, and we have, in D.C., we're working to try to turn this bill back and make sure this doesn't happen. In California, we filed 2 complaints with the HHS Office of Civil Rights, and a letter just recently went from members of Congress, well over 100 members of Congress, demanding that HHS punish California for what California has done and tell California that it has to change this policy. If it does not do that, then we're going to have to take further legal steps, and I expect that if it comes to that we will succeed.
Do you think that there will ever be an opportunity with Obamacare, and especially the intricacies of Obamacare with the abortions, etc., that the Supreme Court will review its first injunction and say that they were wrong and possibly repeal it?
Well, you even have a case coming up this term that's getting some notice, but it's this case dealing with the tax subsidies in states that did not create their own exchange, right. The federal exchange. Mm-hmm. What that essentially means is not only the subsidies, but the penalties on employers. That's another opportunity for the court to look at a lot of this law. I don't know if the original first decision will end up being back in front of the court, but there are plenty of cases that will give the court the opportunity to look at the coercion in this law, particularly with respect to the life issue, and give the court an opportunity to say, look, this sort of coercion of conscience is illegal, it's unconstitutional, and it can't stand.
Casey, one final thought. This country has really slipped, as far as I'm concerned, with respect for human life and dignity. What would you tell my audience that each and every one of us should do through our churches, etc., to bring more attention to these issues?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned churches, because frankly, there's only so much that attorneys can do. Ultimately, this is a heart problem, and what we need is more pastors standing up and speaking out on the life issue, more lay people standing up and speaking out on the life issue, becoming educated about what's going on out there on these issues around the country, and making their voices heard. I think it's absolutely critical, not just to change the legal decisions, but to change the culture into one that respects life. And I think education and advocacy is the way to go.
All right. Casey, if people want to follow this story and many others with the Alliance Defending Freedom, can you give us the particulars on how they can help?
Absolutely. Just go to our website at alliancedefendingfreedom.org. That's the best place to go, and you can find out information there about these matters and several other that we're working on the life issue.
All right. Casey Maddox, Alliance Defending Freedom, and I want to wish to you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being on the program this morning.
Merry Christmas, Ed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Wonderful people with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and I heartily suggest that you go to their website, and they're doing all this free gratis, and if you can help them, help them. They're a group of attorneys all across the United States that are standing up for Christians, and I absolutely support them, and I say thank you. Wonderful people. I think what we better do right now is tell you that in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking to Eric Holbrook with Valley White Home and Ranch. And don't forget, we're going to have that great big Christmas remote over there on Thursday from 8 to 11, my program. And then the store specials are going to last all the way through the weekend. I mean, my goodness, you don't want to miss a minute of it. All your Christmas shopping in 910 South Oneida and Rupert at Valley White Home and Ranch. We're going to, during the remote, have Ken Mort there. He's going to be singing Christmas carols. We're going to have great in-store buys. We're going to have free cinnamon rolls until as long as they last. And then great store sales like clothing and Western boots on sale. Buy 2, get 1 free that day on Thursday. You're going to love it. Valley White Home and Ranch, big remote broadcast coming up on this Thursday. Don't you miss it. By the way, some other folks that I absolutely urge you to stop in and see, and that's Lee's Furniture, floors and more. My goodness, they're busy. They've got everything over at Lee's Furniture. You want carpet? You need new carpet? For the holidays, you got all the relatives coming in and everything? Well, by golly, just stop in. Rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of carpet. Every kind of carpet imaginable. And floor coverings. And don't forget all the furniture, all the recliners, all the sofas and love seats, and all the accessories, too. I know Brent was talking to me about this last week on the air. All the nightstands and the accent tables and the bookcases and the lamps and the pictures, everything for the beautification of your home. With the people that really understand beautification of your home, the folks at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. As you may have noticed, Gina is not with us this week, and she's taking a very well-deserved vacation. And I'm going to have a friend of mine jump on the air here, and we're going to talk to him just for a split second. Scotty is taking over, Scotty Cameron. Scott, how you been anyway?
I have been awesome, thank you. And yourself?
Well, I want to apologize to you that first hour is pretty busy. I didn't get a chance to really visit with you too much.
It's okay. You got to take care of business.
Now, how's things shaping up for you and your family to have an outstanding Christmas?
You know what? I'm going to have all my family with me, so regardless of what happens, it's going to be awesome.
Now, you were gone last Christmas, weren't you?
Yeah, I was up freezing my tuchus off in North Dakota.
Was that an experience that was good, bad, indifferent, or would you never have gone after you look back at things now?
I am glad I went, but there is no way that I would ever do it again.
You told me something, I think we were over at the main studios one day, just exactly how cold did it get back there in the Dakotas?
Well, there was 3 weeks it never got above 20 below, and our boots would freeze to the floor. We'd have to fry them up in the morning, and then our drinking water, we would have to actually keep in the oven with the pilot light on so we would have, a liquid substance to drink in the morning.
Now, you were living in what, kind of a trailer house situation, or what was the situation there?
Basically a 16.5-foot shed. A little travel trailer, no insulation, and definitely not the place for that trailer.
How did you exist in 20-degree below zero weather without having adequate insulation and heating?
Well, we had 3 space heaters in there running all the time, an electric blanket and a couple extra blankets, and so we just, it was cold and it was miserable, and we survived. How? I don't know, just probably because I'm so stubborn.
Oh, my goodness. I can't even imagine what that was like getting out of bed in the morning and maybe scurrying over to the shower.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. We'd have to, as a matter of fact, the travel trailer we were staying in did not have a shower or bathroom. We had to use the facilities at the RV lot that we were parked at, and, it was cold.
Oh, I'm sitting here and I got goosebumps just talking to you. How long did you do that before you finally saw a light that went on and said, get out of here?
It was about 3 months, and as a matter of fact, my feet were so cold for so long, I actually lost the feeling in my feet.
Oh, my goodness. Did it come back?
It's come back some, not 100%.
I don't think people realize, how do you dress for that kind of weather and that kind of wind that they have back in that area?
You just put on enough clothes, and then when you find you can't move anymore, that's when you know you've got enough on.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, it's our gain to have you come back, but, boy, that sounds to me like it was hell on earth.
It's good to be back. The Mini-Cassia area, there is no better place on earth.
All right. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Scott, if we could. We're going to have Michael Rogers Weather, and then Scott Holbrook with Valley White Home and Ranch is going to be on the program. I'll quickly tell everybody about Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland in Burley. Minor emergency, but you get major care. They will see you today. These are folks that really, really care. I'm telling you, you better get in there. They can take care of you. Lower cost, convenient hours, no appointments are necessary, and a very, very highly trained staff, and so much more. Whether it's an ear infection or whether it's due to an injury at work or whatever the case might be, please stop into Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. They really care. Number to call, 678-6996. Located at 382 North Overland and Burley. And again, minor emergency, but major care at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. You can buy the stock for today. Yes, you can. It's going to be mostly sunny, 55 for the high. You heard me correctly. December and 55 for the high. I'm not kidding you. 32 for the overnight low. You can buy the stock for tomorrow. Partly cloudy. More sun than clouds, though. 55 for the high. Yes, you can buy that stock. 55 for the high. El Nino. This is one of the beauties of El Nino, although you don't get the rain, and when you do get it, it's rain, it's not snow. So otherwise, enjoy the week. The only time you're going to see rain right now is looking like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll keep you ahead of it as we get toward the end of the week. Enjoy the weather if the only weather you got.
I'll tell you what, thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. And I really urge you, in the case of an accident or ear infections or a sprain, a strain, and a fracture, don't forget our friends at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. 382 North Overland and Burley. The number to call, 678-6996. Bringing you Michael Rogers weather. Let's check with Scotty and see if we've got Eric Holbrook on the line. Is he ready to go, Scott?
He is ready to go.
Thank you much. There's a gentleman that is kind of the John Wayne, the head honcho of Valleywide Home and Ranch, and it's been a pleasure to work with him over the last couple of years in all the advertising for the, of course, Valleywide Home and Ranch store at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And again, this week on Thursday, we're going to have the Christmas remote broadcast over there with Zeb at the Ranch. And Eric Holbrook, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
Good to have you on the program. Give us a little background of Valleywide and also what you do for Valleywide. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Valleywide Home and Ranch, we service everybody that is in need for the Western lifestyle, from clothing to fencing to fertilizer and feed. We basically have it all. And I'm coming up on my second year here as doing marketing for Valleywide Cooperative, for Valleywide Home and Ranch and Valley Agronomics, and it's been one heck of a ride already. I'm having a great time.
Eric, tell us a little bit. Now, we've done the Zeb at the Ranch remote broadcast for Christmas over at Valleywide for the last couple of years, and really have had a great influx of people coming by to support the event. What are some of the specials that are going to happen on Thursday during the broadcast and then remain for a couple of days for all the Christmas shoppers?
Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, there is so much going on right now. It's kind of hard to single one thing out. One thing is check the weekly mailer coming out tomorrow for some of our specific sales, and always on Facebook.com. You can find the Rupert Valleywide Home and Ranch, and we update things as often as possible there. But I'll tell you one thing for sure, is that Thursday, your listeners won't know about one of our big sales until they actually come into the store. It's a one-day only thing. We'll get to that on Thursday. But going on starting today, we have, all the clothing 25% off. We have jewelry 40% off. Decorative pictures from, I think it's Rocky Mountain Publishing, 40% off. Everything fishing related is 25% off. We have Montezuma toolboxes that are normally $564 on sale for $399.99 right now. But the biggest thing that we really want to push right now is we want to put the listeners on Santa's Nice List, and it's a chance to win a $100 gift card simply by coming into Valleywide Home and Ranch in Rupert. Put your name on an entry form, put it in, and it's as simple as that. If you end up on Santa's Nice List, you'll get a $100 gift card just in time before Christmas.
Absolutely. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the mechanics of what we're going to do at the remote broadcast. We're going to be right away in the first hour of the program at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning giving away free, delicious Sophie's Chatterbox cinnamon rolls as long as they last. And like you said, great in-store buys. And we're also going to have Ken Mort. He's going to be over there singing Christmas carols. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be the place, Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Eric, are you going to be down here on Thursday?
You know, unfortunately, I will not be. I've got to be on television at 5 in the morning because we are making a donation to Seven Cares Fund through KTVB. It's a joint donation between Valley-Wide Cooperative and Valley Co-op down in the Magic Valley in Jerome, where we are both giving $7,500 and 3 tons of food that are going to help out the Idaho Food Bank, Salvation Army, and some women's shelters, I believe.
Oh, my goodness. You know, it sounds to me like Valley-Wide, not only having everything from feed needs all the way to clothing needs, everything in between, but you're also heavily involved with helping the community.
Right, you know, and that is kind of our creed, is we like to be a part of every community that we're in and operate in. And, you know, we know that we're a local company. We can't operate without our communities, and we like to give back at any time that we possibly can. And that's one of the things that we're having for our sale, too, is that we are going to have a drop-off at our Home and Ranch store for toys that is going to benefit the mini Cassia shelter.
Okay.
They operate through Paul, Burley, Rupert, that entire Magic Valley area, and they're also would like donations if possible. And one thing that we are going to do is that for anybody that donates $5 cash or more, we'll be able to get their name on an ornament and hang it up at our Christmas tree at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch.
Okay. Eric, I really want to compliment you and everybody at Valley-Wide. It's just a real pleasure to go over there and have our remote broadcast there on Thursday. We're going to be there from 8 to 11 Thursday morning. We urge everybody to come on over. Oh, we forgot. What about Santa Claus?
Yeah, there's somebody coming to town, too, Zeb, you were forgetting.
Yeah, what about Santa?
Santa will be there Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So, you know, parents, grab the little ones and have a chance to tell the big guy face-to-face what your kids want to have for this Christmas. And, you know, we're looking for a good turnout there. Santa's going to be there. It's we couldn't ask for anything more.
Eric Holbrook with Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, and like I said, we're going to be over there Thursday at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. It's going to be a very, very special day, and basically a kickoff to a lot of in-store savings and great Christmas shopping at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Eric, thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. Appreciate being here.
All right. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. Really, really nice man, Eric Holbrook with Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. And again, I want to stress the fact that we're going to be over there Thursday, and we're going to be doing the broadcast like we have the last couple of years. Come on in, ho, 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 and we'll have the bells and everything. And Ken Mort, he'll be over there singing Christmas carols in the store, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great savings. Come on by Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Let us take a look real quick. What is on the menu today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley? Today they're going to have, as the special, chicken enchiladas served with rice and super salad, and it will be tremendous. I mean, it'll be delicious at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Great menu items and really nice people, and I love the environment over there with all the sports memorabilia and everything at Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Really nice folks. Next hour, one of my very favorite guests is going to be on the program, and I think Scotty will really get a charge out of what he has to say because he's so informative. He's a former CIA operative, and I'm not even going to tell you where he's living now because that's information I'm not going to provide. His name is Brian Fairchild, and he has been on our program at least half a dozen or 8 times in the last couple of months, and we'll look forward to having him on the air. And this morning, he's primarily going to talk about, boy, boy, the fourth Secretary of Defense in 6 years with the Obama administration. Where does that put us? He'll be coming up at 10:06 this morning. Real fast also, I want to remind everybody about Merry Christmas wishes, and I'll try to get that in real quick. Don't forget our friends at the Sprinkler Shop, Paul, Jerome, Buell, and Kimberly Road. The Sprinkler Shop has been offering irrigation manufacturing and excavation services since the 70s. All your irrigation needs right over there at the Sprinkler Shop. Paul, Jerome, Buell, and Kimberly Road wishing you a very Merry Christmas. As is A Child's World, 1308 Overland and Burley, 878-8222, the number to call. A Child's World is the largest children's store in southern Idaho. Shop locally and save. And if you mention my name, Zeb Bell, you can receive 25% off any item. And the bookstore and more at 515 5th Street in Rupert. My goodness, all the books, all the fudge, all the great Christmas cards and figurines, all of this and more at the bookstore and more at 515 5th Street in Rupert. All of them wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. We're going to send it back over to Scotty right now at our main studios. We'll be back in 6 minutes. I love it. I love the Christmas time, and thank you very much. Zeb at the Ranch, welcome back on a Monday, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. Call them at 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment, but before we do, I want to remind everybody about Four Paws Bed and Bath, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. Number to call, 438-4444. They're going to have their annual Santa party. Yeah, that's coming up this next weekend on the 13th from 11 to 3. Yes, sirree, Bob, you better get over there on Saturday. They're going to be taking pictures of your pets and children with Santa, and they're going to have great sales throughout the store. And believe me, they've got all the Boise State and Idaho Vandal apparel, collars and leashes, lots of great gift-giving ideas for your pets. And also to remember this, if you're traveling for the holidays and can't take your pet with you, call Four Paws Bed and Bath and board your animal over there. 370 West, 200 South of Rupert, 438-4444, Four Paws Bed and Bath. Really, really nice people. Real quick, too, while I have an opportunity, I want to say thanks to Sportsman's Warehouse, and they're located at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Reese and the rest of the crew, everything for the outdoorsman. I don't care if you're looking for duffel bags, if you're looking for pistols, if you're looking for hunting rifles, sleeping bags, special clothing, shoes, food, propane stoves, everything and anything is at your gift quarters, Sportsman's Warehouse. I suggest that you stop in, whether you're into hunting, shooting, archery, fishing, boating, the list goes on and on. They've got it all at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Sportsman's Warehouse, my favorite store. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and a very dear friend, and I say dear friend, we've never met formally, but one of these days he's going to get down here for a prime rib, and I'm picking up the ticket, and that's, of course, our dear friend Brian Fairchild, former CIA operative. Brian, good morning to you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Zeb. Good morning to you. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great, and it's such a blessing to have you back on the program. Brian, you and I had visited the other day, and I had vocalized my concern as to what's going on with the instability in government with this Obama administration. 4 Secretary of Defense people in 6 years. Does that bother you, or am I looking at something that really shouldn't worry?
Oh, no, it should bother you. It shouldn't bother you very much. And, you know, the problem is, Zeb, that the way the United States government is supposed to work is that, you know, a man runs for office, runs for the presidency of the United States, and he wins, but he cannot be an expert in everything. So the concept is that the president will come into the administration and he will surround himself with the best and brightest in all of the key government departments and agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, having surrounded himself with the best and the brightest, it's his duty then to listen to the advice of the best and brightest as to the situation of the United States around the world, especially in foreign policy. The problem with this administration is, is that the president and his group think that they are the best and the brightest. And so they have focused all decision-making within the White House. So the people in the agencies, like the Department of Defense and CIA and other places that they have at their disposal, they basically ignore when they don't want to hear what they have to say. So now you've got Chuck Hagel, who's leaving, and Ashton Carter coming in. And to tell you the truth, Zeb, I mean, we should worry about it because we're not getting the best and brightest advice to the president as to what should be done in foreign policy, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to really make much of a difference to what we've already seen, because the president has already ignored those people. The president already, focuses all policy in his hands and his small group of advisors in the White House. So I don't think there's going to be much difference as far as seeing changes on the ground, Zed.
You, of all people, are closer to this situation than a common Joe citizen like me. And in a related story this morning, I noticed that the White House and this president and the Democrats in particular are wanting to release a CIA report that basically tells the world about our questioning and what we do with the bad guys to get information, and they're going to throw the CIA under the bus. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, absolutely. The problem with the United States government, and it has cut through all administrations, is the CIA oftentimes ends up being a political football. Because if policy decisions work, then the policymakers take the credit. If the policies don't work, then oftentimes other agencies are blamed for the failures. And CIA has oftentimes been blamed for the failures of, administration. Not that the CIA is blameless. I mean, the CIA has made many mistakes. I mean, all government institutions make mistakes. But the problem with another problem with our form of government is it's very hard to have secret intelligence agencies operate secretly in a democracy, because you have congressional oversight, you have politicians that are running the oversight. Politicians like to leak information so that they can be reelected and so forth and so on. So it's very hard to keep secrets in a democracy. And as you and your listeners know, pretty much everything that the U.S. government has been up to over a period of years is roughly known by the world. Mm-hmm. For instance, drones. Drones could have been a very secret policy, but if you use drone attacks against terrorists in a very selective, intelligence-driven way, you have a good chance of being able to keep that sort of thing secret. Excuse me. When you use drones as your policy, sooner or later it gets out, and then pretty soon everybody around the world knows that drones are coming out, or that drones are being used by the U.S. government. Well, same thing with the CIA interrogation techniques. Excuse me, Zeb, I got a frog in my throat today. With the CIA interrogation attempt, I mean, after 9/11, we were attacked, the worst attack ever experienced in the United States. We wanted to make sure that it was never going to happen again. CIA went and interrogated people. They used some rough methods sometimes. But now that report is going to come out from the Senate Intelligence Committee. Dianne Feinstein is going to release that report probably sometime this week. And the fear is that it's going to be like adding fuel to the fire. It's going to be telling the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, we took this guy and we, interrogated him roughly, waterboarded him, whatever, and that's just going to be used by them as fuel to recruit more people, to enrage more people, to incite more attacks on us, and it's not going to be a good thing generally, Zeb.
Brian, let me ask you this, and let me make a statement first and foremost, and tell me if you disagree with me or agree with me. I think that the liberal nonsense in this country about, we're above that, and we shouldn't waterboard, and we shouldn't do anything to coerce information out of these people. I draw the line right there, and I look them in the eye, and I say, wait a minute. If it's your son and daughter in a school that some terrorist wants to blow up, and one of his cohorts is captured, I dare you to tell me that you wouldn't pull out every one of his fingernails or chop off every one of his toes to get the information as to where that bomb is located and what you can do to stop it. I think, honestly, Brian, the American public is so naive and stupid, quite frankly, about terrorism and how serious it is. I think we should get the information by any means necessary.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Seb. Here's how I see the situation. The problem is that by the time the 9/11 attacks had occurred, the state of American intelligence was in great disrepair. We were not doing very many things. We were not doing a whole lot of things very well. Then all of a sudden we were hit by the 9/11 attacks. Because we were not doing steady strategic intelligence over the years from the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 to the 2001 attacks, and our intelligence resources and our intelligence capabilities had fallen off, we didn't have well-placed sources around the world that could help us understand what had just happened after the 9/11 attacks. So we had to resort to other means. And one of the other means that we resorted to was waterboarding and aggressive interrogation techniques. It was sort of the only thing that we had going for us. And so as a nation, that's sort of what we had to do at the time because we were paying for the fact that we had neglected intelligence for so long. I have no problem with aggressive intelligence interrogation techniques if it obtains good intelligence and if it is not the policy. I mean, what we should have as a strategic intelligence community is excellent sources in governments and terrorist organizations around the world on a steady basis, not just, maybe we ought to do it now because we've been attacked, sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any problem as long as it does obtain good intelligence. The world of terrorism is a very Machiavellian place, Zeb. And when you are up against an enemy that will disembowel people, behead children, kill, unarmed prisoners, sometimes you have to take, more aggressive methods than you would normally. But that's my take on it.
Well, let me ask you this part of it then, Brian. I haven't really seen, and tell me if I'm wrong, correct me, I haven't really seen the president and John Kerry or any cabinet members really stand up in front of the cameras and denounce and slam their fists down on the table and say, we will get you in regards to the terrorists that have killed already, 4 or 5 Americans with beheadings. I mean, I just don't see the strength. I don't see the resolve. I don't see the personality that this country for over 200 years has had. You step on our toes and we're going to step on yours.
Right. And that's one of the problems with the U.S. government right now is around the world, the U.S. government is seen to be a toothless tiger, toothless and clawless tiger. And not only that, but a tiger that's not even on the hunt. So it's a major problem for us, especially when you compare it to what is actually happening on a day-to-day basis with terrorism around the world against Americans. Now, just one example, Zeb, I don't know if you've heard this or if your listeners have heard this, but back in October, on jihadist websites, they were calling for jihadis, lone wolf-type jihadis in the Middle East to kill American school teachers and teachers at international schools throughout the Middle East. Well, just a few days ago, I think it was December 4th, a burqa-clad woman in the United Arab Emirates went to one of the most trendy shopping malls in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, and lied in wait for an hour and a half in a public restroom with a butcher knife for an American school teacher to come in.
Oh.
When the American school teacher came in, she was a kindergarten teacher in Abu Dhabi. The woman killed her with the butcher knife. And then she also planted a bomb at another American's house, an American doctor's house, and just because he was American. Now, if you haven't heard of that and your listeners haven't heard of that, that's the problem. Why haven't you heard of it? Why hasn't the president stood up and said, this has to stop? Why hasn't the president put pressure on these other governments to monitor their people in the jihadi communities, that much more? So you're absolutely right, Seb.
Well, I had heard of it, and I was going to ask you about that this morning, but there's a caveat there. I am absolutely outraged as to I don't know if she's stupid. I don't know if she's trying to make appeasement with the bad guys. I really don't know what Hillary's modus operandi is, but for her last week, Brian, and I get really emotional about this, for Hillary to stand up at a microphone and say that we need to have empathy and feelings for where the bad guys are coming from, I about threw one of my Tony Lamas right through the TV.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole, the liberal approach to drawing moral equivalency between the bad guys and us is just so ridiculous. It almost, I can't believe that I'm having this discussion with you, on public radio over this sort of a thing. I mean, that's like saying, well, it goes back to the whole concept of, the poor criminal, the poor terrorist, that concept. It's like you've got Jeffrey Dahmer, killing and eating people, and that's the functional problem right there. It's okay, this guy is killing and eating people, we got to get him, put him away, put him down. And then you have people saying, yes, but, the poor guy, he was abused as a child and so forth and so on. And frankly, I don't care. I mean, there might be problems there that you can deal with at some point in the future, but right now you've got problems with people killing you, beheading you, killing innocent women and children, practicing genocide, and, for any American leader to say, let's step back and think about these poor people and what they've been through, just seems to be a non-starter, Zeb. So I have to agree with you again on this. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation.
Brian, and I hate to say this because I don't want to trivialize what's going on, but does it all come back to a filthy 8-letter word called politics? Is that what the whole basis of this problem is?
Well, I think it comes down to, with this particular administration, it comes down to a word called ideology. And, some presidents take over American government, and they want to make, America as strong as it can be. They want to pursue the American century, if you will, the American empire. We have been actually good for the world, Zeb, as a strong power. And, this administration has come in with an ideology that is basically domestically based, not interested whatsoever in foreign policy. When they are interested in foreign policy, it's to simplify it and to do things that will, in their minds, just make it easy to deal with the world. But their basic policy is to take the United States and turn it into a domestic socialist country. And I'm not throwing socialism out there as like, socialism. This is a fact of the matter. If your listeners look and just Google democratic socialism, which is one of the types of socialism, is exactly what the Obama administration is practicing and trying to enact here in the United States. That's their agenda. That's what they care about, changing the United States into a democratic socialist country. And so when you have that kind of a mindset, and the mindset also includes, making everybody kind of equal, that transfers over into the foreign arena. And basically, the Obama administration would like for all countries to be equal, for no country to have more power than any other country, and that we'll all get along and we can all deal with each other on that basis. And it just doesn't work, Zeb. So I think it comes down to the word ideology.
Well, yeah, and another story that's related to what exactly you're talking about. When I read this last week, when it was in the paper, I about fell off my geezer chair. There was a headline in the newspaper that said, quote, United Nations resolution. Israel must renounce nuclear arms. And I thought to myself, what in the world kind of stupidity is this? Our only ally in the Middle East, and the United Nations comes out with a resolution that probably the Obama administration would back also, that Israel must renounce nuclear arms and basically render themselves defenseless? Comment on that, please.
Yeah, well, and that at the exact same time that the administration is allowing for Iran to go nuclear.
Yes.
So, you can't have it both ways, right? I mean, if you're going to have no nuclear powers, well, then I guess the United States has to give up its nuclear capability, and every other country that has a nuclear capability has to give it up, So why are you calling on, poor Israel in the middle of a cauldron to give up their nuclear weapons when you're allowing Iran, the arch nemesis in the region, to develop nuclear weapons? It doesn't make any sense at all. That's one of the problems that you and I have, Zeb, is that you and I are talking about these things like they make logical sense. But when you have an ideologue as the leader, of the most powerful country of the free world, normal commonsensical things do not apply. And you certainly can't apply common sense to any of the things that we're talking about this morning.
Well, last thought on this, and then I got to let you go for today, but I can't wait to have you back. But when you look at John Kerry as Secretary of State, and you know the man's track record, you know about his animus against the United States during Vietnam, etc., and here he is over-negotiating with Iran and the Ayatollah. How much do you not trust what this man is doing?
Well, I don't trust what Kerry is doing. I don't trust the administration's policy, and it's almost laughable within the serious foreign policy, community of what is going on with Iran right now. I mean, we've discussed this before, and because of our policy towards Iran, which has always been our arch nemesis in the region, as well as the arch nemesis of our partner states in the region, we have turned that topsy-turvy. I mean, what is happening now is that our former partners in the region, who used to do nothing but hate Israel, are now joining together with Israel, and I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United States, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and others, are now siding and joining together in policy initiatives with Israel, their former hate target, in order to combat Iran. And they're doing that because they no longer trust and respect and have any sense that the United States government is trying to protect them and trying to hold Iran off. And that's what I meant earlier when I said that, the administration wants to do these simplified things overseas. I think in the administration's mind, they think, well, that's really complicated over there. If we can just let Iran be the big dog and dominate the area, then we'll just deal with Iran and we'll be okay. And that way we don't have to worry about diplomacy and messy relations with all these different Sunni Arab states. And boy, that would be so much easier if we can just make it easy. Just make it simple. So that's what I think is going on. I have no respect for that policy whatsoever.
Brian, on behalf of my wife and I here at Zeb at the Ranch, and Gina and Scotty and everybody, we want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. And like I stated the other day on the telephone, anytime you're within striking distance of landing someplace here in the Magic Valley, we'll meet you anywhere and buy you the biggest steak you ever had. God bless you, man, and Merry Christmas, and come back soon.
Merry Christmas, Devin. Thank you so much. I'll take you up on that steak before too long, brother.
You got it. Anytime. Thank you very much for being on the program, and I'll call in the next couple of weeks. Thanks, Brian.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
All right, sir. There is a gentleman that I value and I treasure his friendship and also his knowledge. Former CIA operative Brian Fairchild, and straight shooter when it comes to what's going on with our politics and our security. Don't forget A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh, wonderful, wonderful people. And believe me, if you'll just stop in at A Child's World for anything, all the clothing and the games and the puzzles, everything for your Christmas shopping, and mention my name, Zeb Bell, you'll receive 25% off any item. That's right. And believe me, they're going to have a Home for the Holidays special sale, 20% off the entire purchase. You'd better just get on in there and enjoy A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and also the Ambulatory Surgery Center. I'm very proud to have them on my program because if you need procedures like hand surgery, knee arthroscopic surgery, colonoscopies, eye surgery, contact them and save money. 677-8888. 677-8888. Located at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, Ambulatory Surgery Center. And both A Child's World and the Ambulatory Surgery Center are sponsors of our Thursday segment called Cassia County School Days, and we thank them very much. We're going to take a little break and send it back over to Scotty at our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. We're on the home stretch for this Monday, December the 8th. And before we get our guest on the line, I'd like to remind you about wonderful, very, very interesting author Gary Shoresman. Gary is a dear friend of mine, and over the many years, he has a list of books to his credit that are absolutely fantastic books for the history buff. Books like Arid Acres 3rd Edition, A History of Comaima and Minidoka Homesteaders, a book called The Way We Were, The City of Rupert, Progressive Paul, Idaho, Water Stop on the OSL Railroad, Minidoka, and many other books. And I'm telling you right now, these would make excellent Christmas presents and keepsakes for generations to come. Check out Gary Shoresman and his wonderful historical books at the bookstore on the square in Rupert and the Minidoka County Museum. Excellent Christmas presents with an excellent author right here in southern Idaho, Gary Shoresman. We're on the line right now with a gentleman that I don't think I've ever had on my program before, and we're going to kind of play What's My Line a little bit and have him enter and sign in, please. Good morning to Bill Tatro. Bill, how are you this morning?
Am I talking to the famous Zeb Bell?
You are on the line with, I don't know about famous, infamous, or whatever, but it's Zeb on this end. Good to have you on my program, my friend. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Zeb, and it's Tatro with a long A.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll make that correction. Bill, while I have you in an informative mood, tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your background.
Well, I started at George Washington University a long, long time ago, 1964. That was 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And I was a youngster from a small town in upstate New York. I went down there to play football, believe it or not. And I walked into a classroom. My normal classroom sizes were maybe 19 to 20. And I had 300 students in that classroom. And there was a gentleman who said, who's a professor, he says, I got good news and bad news. Good news for me because I'm not going to be teaching you for the rest of the semester. And also the other good news for you is that you have a gentleman who is the advisor to the president. And I thought I meant the president of the university, but he meant Lyndon Johnson at the time, had been the advisor to John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And his name was John Kenneth Galbraith, one of the most famous economists in the history of economics. And so that's how I cut my teeth. I became an economist and learned from him. Totally disagree with most of what he said because he was a Keynesian and I'm an Austrian. But then basically I went, taught school for a little while, and then I went into the financial services business. But more important, I went into radio. I did television. And I've been a writer for a long time. Most recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, I write for Town Hall. I have about 2.5 million readers. And I had a radio show for a long time, which is coming to a conclusion this week, actually. and I'm going to be on the internet as I continue that, which I've done for many years. But I just want to focus on my writing, and my new book called 44th, The Presidential Conspiracy just came out a couple of weeks ago, which the White House didn't really want to see being published, but it came out to pretty good reviews, and hopefully the folks up in Idaho will find it as a great stocking stuffer.
All right, Bill, that was well done. Now, I got to tell you that when I read the cheat sheet to have you on this program, the first couple of words were very chilling. It had your name and then also the title, Next Up, World War III. Wow, that gives one an ominous feeling. Why do you feel that next up we might be looking at World War III?
Well, Zeb, let's just take a look at yesterday, okay? And I have to say, and I've had a few interviews this morning, and I have to pay tribute. My dad's still alive. Mm-hmm. He's 90 years old. He was in the invasion of Iwo Jima in the 4th Marine Division, the first ones in the shore, when 84% of his guys were lost. And so, to tribute to all the guys who were there, if we go back to World War II and we take a look at Japan, you know, they didn't bomb Pearl Harbor and then theoretically decide they were going to go into California to put the sushi parlors in, all right? They were put into a corner. And the corner that they were put into was, well, you can look at historically for all sorts of reasons, but we kind of put sanctions against them. We froze the oil going into that country. We froze their natural resources. And we basically froze all the money that was deposited in the United States. Sometimes when you do things to countries or your opponent, sometimes you misjudge what their reactions will be. And I've said continually that this president for 6 years has been in a game with his opposition from, let's say, the Senate or the House. He has been proactive where all these guys and gals have been reactive. He's taken that same mentality, same philosophy to the world stage. And when you look at it, I've said continually in my columns, and millions have read this, that he is playing checkers when Putin is playing chess. And so when you look at it, we just moved 100 tanks and support vehicles into Poland. We've quadrupled the number of planes that are surrounding, NATO planes, surrounding Russia. We are continuing to press, and this is not some little country. This is Russia aligned with China, aligned with Iran, and my fear is that all of a sudden we make some tactical mistake and we underestimate the other side, and all of a sudden then all heck breaks loose.
Absolutely. Bill, is this on behalf of President Obama and his administration? Is it, in your opinion, a naivete attitude, or is this man on a plan and an ideology to diminish United States power?
Oh, I love you. I love you. Okay, so you just promoted the book, all right, 44th, The Presidential Conspiracy. But let's go back a couple of years, because I wrote a column that really, Zeb, all over the country, and maybe all over the world, because I get emails from all over, said, how could you give this guy an A+? And I gave him an A+. And people would say, well, wait a minute, I thought you were, conservative, fiscal conservative, and you're giving this guy an A+. I said, look, what would you give if you've ever read, did you ever read Mein Kampf, I say to people? Did you read Mein Kampf? He said in Mein Kampf what he was going to do. If you read some of Barack Obama's stuff, he said what he's going to do. If you listen to Michelle Obama, when she first started, she says, the pie. I love this comment. Well, we're not going to expand the pie. We're just going to cut it up into more pieces. In other words, we're going to take your piece and give it to somebody else. This guy has set out with a specific design. In my opinion, I don't believe he's alone. I think there's other parties behind him, but I think he's had a certain objective, and he has accomplished that. In the next 2 years, I think are going to be very frightening for this country.
When you say that, very frightening for this country, and we just saw the last election, which was basically a revolution against Obama's ideology and a putting in of the Senate controlled by the Republicans, but there I draw the line and say the Republicans aren't showing enough backbone to really stand up to Obama. Am I right or wrong?
You're right, but let's take it one step further, Zach, and that is that these guys and gals philosophically come from the same, let's call it from the same cloth. You go back to, I'll tell you something that was told me by John Kenneth Galbraith. I continued to say to him, the professor, 6'4" Canadian, and he had a real problem with me and he continued to pronounce my name Tatro, even though he knew it was Tatro. Because in class, I didn't know you're not supposed to raise your hand to ask questions to the most significant advisor to the president. I kept raising my hand, and I said, I don't understand productivity. He says, very simple, Mr. Tatro. He said, if you have 10 people producing 10 things, then all of a sudden you've got 3 producing the same 10 things. You've just got a nice, great, big productivity. My question was, what do you do with those 7 people? Oh, he goes, well, they'll be incorporated back into the system. They'll be incorporated back into the economy. What if they're not? Oh, they always will be. Professor, what if they won't? What if they're not? Doctor, what if they're not? He goes, well, then we have real trouble. Well, guess what? Right now, we have real trouble. Forget those numbers you saw on Friday. That was a joke. But they're not being absorbed back in. So philosophically, the whole idea of Keynesianism says, well, we're going to print, we're going to continue to do this type of governmental printing, going to debt further, but the result is, again and again and again, we're going to continue doing the same things. Now, what's happening is you've got people who have been elected who still have that same philosophy. If you ask any people who were elected, would you get rid of the Federal Reserve? What? I wouldn't do that. Would you go to a gold standard? No. So, I mean, from a basic core philosophical bent, we have simply, yes, I know, we were reelected, and Mary Landrieu gets knocked out on Saturday, and so you got more power in the Senate. But when your philosophy is the same, you know what Einstein said? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the height of insanity. That's what my fear is as we go into a new Congress in January.
Bill, your expertise on this matter really is intriguing, because here we are with a comment last week by Hillary Clinton where she stood up at a podium, and basically it made me so mad I almost kicked off one of my boots and put it through the television when she said we have to have empathy and feelings for those that hate us. I don't want any empathy with ISIS. I want to do away with them. What are we going to gain or lose if she does get the nomination and possibly the vote to be president of the United States?
Well, let's work backwards. I think it's hers to lose.
Okay.
Quite honestly. And the reason I say that is because now we see that Obama, he, in a sense, pardons the 5 million, not illegals, but undocumented. That's the new word we have to use, okay? Not illegals, but undocumented, with about 5 to 6 million right behind them. And so when we look at the Republicans, that genie's come out of the bottle. That mercury's out of the thermometer. You're not going to put that back in. And we heard over the weekend that and what I mean by not putting it back in is all of a sudden what the Republicans are going to say, well, you got 5 million in there. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to do something different. You're less than 2 years away from the election. You're going to alienate that group from a pure political position. I'm not talking about ethical, moral, anything like that. I'm just talking pure political. That's a lot of voters. Remember, Obama, this last election, didn't say he lost it. He just said his 2/3 people didn't vote. They didn't get out. But, if they had gotten out, all my people would have gotten elected. So here you have Hillary Clinton coming in. A big Hispanic group has already said they're moving in that direction. And like I said, I hate to see this, because when you talk about and I talk about this in my book, 44th, The Presidential Conspiracy, when you look at who I believe has been behind Obama all along, it's that same group as behind Hillary Clinton. And so it's a worldwide thing. It's been around for a long time, and it's a philosophy that puts, and one could say, well, socialism at the height. I kind of believe that it's put fascism at the top, and I believe that's kind of the direction that we've been going. I'm not talking about the Hitler-Mussolini kind of fascism, though that was all born in Rome. I'm talking about the fascism that was designed back in the Roman times, where it is the state is all powerful. Everything is done at the exclusion or at the benefit of the state. Think about the NSA. Think about the information, the tapping, and all the rest of that stuff. It's all for the benefit of the state. That's a philosophy that not only Obama, but Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have espoused for years.
We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly. I'm almost out of time. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to have his opinion about what happened to Kennedy. Kennedy printed his own money and was planning on closing down the Federal Reserve. Do you think that was the main reason he was murdered? I'll listen off the air.
Okay, Bill, could you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. I think, you hear the mafia, you hear the CIA, you hear all of that stuff. When you get up to high power, the only response I could have to that is when you're up to high power politics, I mean, kings were killing their own kids in little tiny countries over in Europe just to get control of the little tiny country. Imagine what's done in a large, powerful country like the United States, theoretically one of, if not the most powerful country in the world. Politics is up for grabs.
Bill, I've got to ask you about something closer to home, if you will, and final thought here this morning as to what's happening with the Ferguson case and the New York City video, etc., and the demonizing of our police forces by de Blasio in New York City, and it almost is creating a chaotic situation all across the United States. I'm really afraid that they're going to possibly impose martial law in the future in this administration. Do you think we could ever come to that?
Did you read my book?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to.
That's I say Zach Zeb. That is a core. I believe when we had Ferguson, remember there were 6 governors who used those exact words. If things get too bad, we could impose martial law. Remember what happens with martial law. Nationally, it would be a suspension of the Constitution. If you suspend the Constitution, what happens? There's no voting.
Right. Exactly. We have a caller with a quick question. I've only got 2 minutes left. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, you were talking about Keynesian economics, and the other day I heard somebody ask some person who's supposed to know so much, these people that are on TV that are a joke, they said, do you think it's good for the American economy that the price of oil is going down? And I thought, well, the question in itself is a stupid question. And then the other day I heard a little tidbit of information about how when the price of gas drops a penny, how much that pushes the economy in America up, and people are able to go and spend it on elsewhere. Just a penny. And let alone $1 or $2, so I'll hang up. Thanks.
Bill, you want to respond to that comment, please?
Yeah, it's deeper than just a drop. There's a deal between Saudi Arabia and us to continue bombing in Syria. But remember this. Over 85% of all the jobs created in the last couple of years have come from the energy sector. If you all of a sudden are shutting down that energy sector, and I'm talking about what's going on in the shale oil fields, which are finding low prices very, very destructive, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem. Yes, I know theoretically more money in your pocket, but it's a greater discussion than just that.
Bill Tatro, and Bill, tell us the book and where they can obtain it, please.
Okay, if you go, the book is 44th, The Presidential Conspiracy. Go to Bill Tatro, T-A-T, T as in Tom, A-T as in Tom, R-O.com. It'll give you a video about it, and that'll click you right into Amazon.com. You can get it as an a download for less than $10, and for less than $15, you can get the softcover. Makes a great stocking stuffer. I'm sorry for that.
No, don't apologize. I'm going to get the book, and I promise I'll call you back and have you back on the air. Bill, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Well, thank you, Zeb, for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bill Tatro, and we'll get his book, and I'll finish it, have him back, and we'll discuss this more. Very interesting gentleman this morning on Zeb at the Ranch. Holy cow, it's time for the weather. I know Scotty's probably saying, Zeb, you got to get the weather forecast in. Yes, I do, and the weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely, they guarantee everything they sell. And they've got a great idea. If you're having trouble deciding on a Christmas present for that certain person, order a Christmas gift box from Scarro's Meats. Different prices, different types of meat in each box. It is delicious. Yep, they sell taste one bite at a time at Scarro's Meats, 324-7657. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. You can buy the stock for today. Yes, you can. Mostly sunny, 55 for the high. You heard me correctly. December and 55 for the high. I'm not kidding you. 32 for the overnight low. You can buy the stock for tomorrow. Partly cloudy. More sun than clouds, though. 55 for the high. Yeah, you can buy that stock. 55 for the high. El Nino. This is one of the beauties of El Nino, although you don't get the rain, and when you do get it, it's rain, it's not snow. So otherwise, enjoy the week. The only time you're going to see rain right now is looking like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll keep you ahead of it as we get toward the end of the week. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, Michael Rogers. Weather.com brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And don't forget their telephone number, 324-7657, selling taste one bite at a time. You know, we have Scotty filling in for Gina, and we'll have Scotty get on the line with us here for a minute. Scott, Gina is on a little vacation this week, is that right?
Yeah, she works pretty hard around here, and so once in a while we like to give her a little break and let her kind of chill out for a while.
Now, did you read everything on the card she gave you?
Yep, it's all read, and we're trying to follow her by the letter.
Okay. No, hey, I got a question for you, old football buddy. It looks like my team has come out of the brink of disaster when they started 1-2, and now they're the hottest team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. Give me your thoughts about the way things are evolving in professional football right now.
Well, you know, I've been having this discussion with my fiance Amber quite a bit because she's a Packers fan. I've slept on the couch a couple of nights, so I'm gonna say, yeah, go Packers, and hopefully they do well.
Okay, that's the NFC. What do you think is going to be the AFC representative possibly in the Super Bowl?
It's hard to tell right now, I think. You know, there's with a couple of teams that are doing really well. I think it really is going to go to the one with the most experience, just to not choking and making sure they finish out the season on top.
Yeah, that's either with the most experience. You're talking about either the Patriots or the Broncos on the AFC. Which one's your favorite? I don't have any teams in the AFC that I've ever cared for.
I'd have to go with the Broncos. Of course, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Was raised 3 hours north of Dallas, so I always go with Dallas. But in the AFC, I'd have to go with the Broncos.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be, honestly, I'll tell you what I think's going to happen. We're going to see a repeat of last Sunday, and it's going to be the Packers and the Patriots.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know what it is about the Patriots. They always get under my skin.
I do not like Tom Brady.
Agreed.
Okay, we agree on that. Hey, I know one thing we can all agree on, and that's, of course, for safe wintertime driving, you better stop into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy, they've got all your traction tires. Oh, boy, they've got all the tires pinned for studs, and they got all the tire chains. And you know what? Anything you need, like a front-end alignment or shocks and struts or the best in brake service, absolutely the best in brake service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, too, they've got all your batteries. You don't want to go out on a cold winter morning and turn the key and it says, ha, 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 guess again. You want to have a battery you can rely on, and they've got all your batteries right there at your Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John and Pauline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, the best. They really care about your driving safety. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We have time for another call, but I want to remind you, tomorrow on the program, we are going to have, as scheduled, Representative Speaker of the House Scott Bedke is going to be calling in. We've got a gentleman from back east that's going to be talking about the Iranian nuclear situation. We're going to be, of course, Dr. History is going to be on the program, and we're thinking we're going to have a representative with the Institute for Energy Research, and that's going to be Stephen Moore, talking about the Keystone Pipeline. So those are just some of the people we're going to have tomorrow morning on the program. Got about a minute and a half left. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I've got a quick question, and I haven't heard anything on Fox News or any other radio channel. But I got a question. Why isn't our president, who's half black, and Eric Holder, who is black of some type or majority of, I got a question. Why is Barack Obama or Eric Holder not telling blacks, you should look to us, whether you agree with their politics or not, you should look to us, go get an education, and you become the President of the United States or the highest law enforcement officer in the United States. Why aren't they asking that?
I could not agree with you more. I agree with you totally, and I appreciate your call on this, because instead of saying that you've got to stay in your same rut, you've got to stay in your same rat-infested neighborhood, you can't do anything. You've got to stay like you are, and you've got to riot, loot, and burn. And I agree with you that they should be lifting them up. Al Sharpton should have duct tape put over his mouth and never be allowed to say anything as far as trying to keep people in the same rut they're in. It all boils down to personal responsibility. And Marty, I totally agree with what you said just a moment ago. There was a black man on YouTube that I caught over the weekend that is absolutely denouncing others of his race, saying you do not have to live in the ghettos, you do not have to live in poverty, you do not have to live with a lack of education. You can pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and accomplish anything you want here in the United States of America. Holy smokes, I got out of time. I've got to run. We'll talk about this more tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. Tune in at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on KBAR 1230, and then streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. The way things were, the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning.